Hi everyone, my name is Vicky and I saw sistahonamission's video asking for help in terms of how to deal with overeating. And let me introduce myself for a second. Again, my name is Vicky. I'm 44 years old, and in December of 2009 I weighed well over 300 pounds. And I've been overweight most of my life, and I've always had a problem with overeating. So I'm not an expert on how to curb overeating, but I do have some tips based on my life experience, and I hope that sharing them with you guys will be helpful for someone. To start, I should let everyone know that in December of 2009 I became a raw foodist, and if you want to know more about that, you can go to my channel and sort of see what it's been like for me. I'll tell you right now that becoming a raw foodist is the best thing I have ever done as far as taking control and regaining the power in terms of overeating, and the fact that when we're overeating we're really not coming from a powerful position or a position of being in control at all. And if anyone out there is like me, when I was overeating I was way out of control. I wasn't just having half a little chocolate bar or anything like that. I'd have 3 or 4 or 5 chocolate bars. So I totally understand it, and again, I don't know if I have any answers, but let me share my tips with you. The first tip would be always make sure, if you feel like eating and you don't think you need to eat, that you're not thirsty. Very often when our bodies call for food, we're actually thirsty, and we're hoping that the body's hoping that we're going to hydrate it by giving it something watery and juicy. So sometimes that's what's really going on, and we don't even know it. So definitely try the water first. And I think someone else, Ish, I think you mentioned the water too. Great tip. The other thing that I've done in the past, I'll just tell you sort of what I've done in the past and what I'm doing today quickly. In the past, I've done a lot of work to try and understand this overeating problem of mine, and I heard this great expression in some therapy that I did that I think is really valuable for everyone. And this is what we need to sort of do when we find ourselves wanting to overeat. HALT, with an R on the end, and I'll explain it. Well, I say this is what we need to do. I find this helps, and hopefully it will help you too. So what does HALT mean? It means we need to ask ourselves, are we hungry? Are we angry? Are we lonely? Or are we tired? And I'm going to come back to this in a minute. Are we rebounding? And I'll come back to that in a minute, because this, for me, has been the biggest problem. And I think this is the one thing that by becoming a raw foodist has made all the difference for me. So I'll come back to that in a second. So we go through these things again. Are we hungry? You know, we're all tempted to overeat when we're in the car and we haven't eaten in hours and we didn't have much for breakfast because we woke up not feeling great. That happened to me all the time. And so we skipped breakfast, and then we've been going about our business, going to work, taking care of the kids, taking care of the house, taking care of the husband, taking care of the boyfriend, taking care of the girlfriend, and we forget about ourselves. So are we actually hungry? If you're actually hungry, eat. The next one is angry. Are we angry about something? A lot of people, and I'm certainly one of those people, before I became a raw foodist, I was eating emotionally. I was eating to overcome feelings. And so, was I angry about something and looking for comfort in food? Always a good question to ask. Are we lonely? Are we feeling sad? Maybe a little sorry for ourselves? I am certainly someone who has felt lonely in my life, and food becomes a really good friend. So are we lonely, and are we eating to fill up that sense of emptiness that we have because we feel alone? It's a really good question to ask. And are we tired? Our bodies, when we're tired, need fuel to keep us going, and so our bodies will get us to eat calories so that we have energy so that we can keep going. Now, those are really good questions, but this is the one for me that is the big one. Are we rebounding? Now, what that means for me is, are we rebounding from something that we've already eaten? Has something that we've already eaten actually caused us to have the feelings to want to eat more? And we know that when we eat, our blood sugar increases, our blood sugar levels go up high. But what happens when we've eaten and maybe half an hour has passed and our blood sugar levels start to drop again? Well, our body will seek out more of what will put it back to normal. And so if we're rebounding from something that we've already eaten, our body will say, eat again. I know, it's a crazy thing, but we don't always need to eat again. And definitely for me, rebounding is also, I could have written this down, but I didn't, nutrition seeking. If I had eaten a Big Mac and fries and a big cup of Coke for lunch, I haven't nourished my body. I haven't given it the foods that it wants that contain the vitamins, the minerals, the enzymes, and all that good stuff. And so my body will be seeking nutrition. It will be rebounding from the sugar rush and the salt and all of the calories that were in the Big Mac, the fries, and the Coke. But it hasn't actually received the nourishment that it wants. And so I'll rebound in terms of wanting to eat again. So definitely, I think if we do use the HALT method and note it and actually take down some notes of when that's happening, we'll begin to see the patterns that cause us to eat. Now, that's for most of us, and those are the tips that I have if you're eating a mainstream diet. I want to talk just quickly for a minute about the fact that becoming a raw foodist has helped me get over this whole issue of overeating. Because what I didn't realize before I became a raw foodist, that it was the food that I was eating was what was causing me to eat more food. And the food that I wasn't eating that was not good for me were the man-made, sugar-laden, flour-enriched fat, swimming in fat kind of things. You know, I am as guilty as anyone else of loving French fries and gravy. What is that though? I mean, there's really no nutrition in that, right? And so of course it wasn't satisfying my body. And so I just want to come back now quickly before I end this and say, I believe that all of the food that God and nature intend us to eat is already on the planet for us. So when you go through these things, and if you find you're hungry, for example, I recommend eating, but pull yourself up a chair at God's table and eat the good food that God has put on this earth for you, and eat as much of it as you want. If you want to eat 3 pounds of carrots, or 4 apples, or 6 oranges, or 3 bananas, eat. That is food that God put on this earth for us. Eat away, eat it up. He has blessed this planet that we live on with food that is good for our bodies. And if you are hungry and feel like overeating, eat. But just don't eat the man-made stuff, because God in His wisdom put everything we need in the food that He has growing on this planet for us. And as humans, as God's children, we will all do well to start eating food that God puts on the table for us, instead of food that people working in a big, huge production facility put on the table for us. Just makes sense, right? Loving God, loving food. And to that, again, if anyone else is thinking about how to stop the overeating cycle, because it is a cycle, and again, that's why I mentioned the rebounding. It's a cycle that happens over and over again, and that cycle has been dominating my life for more than 40 years. But it doesn't anymore, because I've become a raw foodist, and I eat fruit and vegetables, nuts and seeds, sprouted grains that God put on this good earth for us to eat and to nourish ourselves with. So those are my tips. Hope it helps someone out there. It certainly has helped me, and I thank you all. I've now subscribed to your channel, Sister on a Mission. I think you're awesome, and I wish you and all of your subscribers and all of your viewers continued and ongoing success. Bye-bye.